How's it going, you guys? And welcome back to the channel. Well, Adam Sandler is officially back with his new comedy out on Netflix, Hubie Halloween. And well, considering that it falls in the middle of October and all my spooky reviews that I'm going to be doing, I figured that I'd talk about it here. So today, let's talk about Hubie Halloween. Hubie Halloween, starring Adam Sandler, is directed by Steven Brill and is streaming exclusively on Netflix. The story follows a man named Hubie Dubois who is a target for mockery among kids and adults. When a murder mystery in the town of Salem arises, Hubie finds himself in the center of it all and goes on a journey to solve the case. So after his recent success on Uncut Gems, things were looking really bright for Adam Sandler in his career, and with the announcement of this film, I was hoping that it would shed some light on Sandler and his comedy. But unfortunately, that just isn't the case because Hubie Halloween is just another reminder that Sandler and his comedy isn't going anywhere and it won't be getting any better anytime soon. And that's not to say that Hubie Halloween doesn't have any merit. It definitely has some moments here and there, but overall, if you've seen any of Sandler's old films, I think you know what you're going to be receiving with this one. Lots and lots of gross out humor, slapstick, just your average stupid Sandler humor, now with a Halloween theme. But a lot of what doesn't make this film work is how convoluted the plot is. It takes an awfully long time to get the plot moving, and it spends a whole lot of time establishing the characters and getting everything set up, and delivering on some jokes that really didn't work for me. And it really sucks that a lot of the comedy didn't work because apart from Adam Sandler, there's also some other great names in this movie, but it almost feels like they have nothing to do. Names such as Kevin James, of course, Maya Rudolph, Kenan Thompson, Ray Liotta, hell, even Steve Buscemi gets to play in this movie, but he ends up getting pushed off to the side for most of it, and I thought he would have a much more prominent role in this movie. I think one of the only people that actually managed to get a few laughs out of me was Huby'S mom, played by June Squibb. A lot of her humor is some of that immature humor Sandler is known for, but somehow she managed to make me enjoy it a lot. And despite him only getting one scene in this movie, he actually managed to get the most laughs out of me, and that was, believe it or not, Shaquille O'Neal. He definitely gets the best comedic material to work with in this movie, and it almost felt like he was the Al Pacino in Jack and Jill for this movie. It really says a lot when a former basketball player can actually deliver more laughs than some of these great comedians, but, you know, they were pushed off to the side, so it doesn't really matter. Also, I don't know why Sandler decided to do this, but his character of Hubie was pretty obnoxious, to say the least. And look, seeing some of the things that he goes through in this movie, I definitely felt sympathy for him at some points, and there's a nice heartfelt message about being yourself and bullying, which I could appreciate. But following his character for the majority of this movie, it can start to get really irritating. The movie repeats the same bits with his character more times than I could count, and I felt more like I was watching the intro of a Hubie Dubois Halloween TV show or something. And I had a feeling that this one thing would get on my nerves at some point, but the one thing that really irritated me about Hubie was his voice, and I don't understand why Sandler thought that was necessary. Literally for the entire movie, Sandler's talking like this, and at first it's pretty entertaining, but after a while it starts to get really irritating, and sometimes you can't even understand what he's saying, and it just gets stuck in your voice, and you wish he would stop. And now that I think about it, it kind of sounds like Jim Carrey in The Cable Guy. What do you guys think? He probably could have stuck with his normal voice and have done the exact same things his character does in this movie, and it wouldn't have been any different, but it gets awfully annoying when he's speaking to himself or others for the majority of the runtime, and you can't understand what he says most of the time. It also really makes me wonder how the romance between him and Julie Bowen's character played out. In the movie, they end up establishing that the two have been interested in dating each other all the way back to elementary school out of all times. I don't know why they didn't just choose middle school or high school or something. We also find out that she used to date Kevin James's character, and they had 3 kids together, yet she ends up saying that she's always loved Hubie since the 1st grade. I don't care if it's an Adam Sandler movie, a lot of that just doesn't sound right to me. But one thing's for certain though, I would definitely love to get me one of Hubie's thermoses. In the movie, Hubie has an odd addiction to soup, and he ends up keeping it in his thermos, which by the way also serves as a grappling hook, an eyeglass, a firework launcher out of all things, and I'm sure there's many more gadgets to it. I definitely want one of those. But bottom line, that thermos is awesome. And I already mentioned this earlier in the video, but one of the worst things about this movie, besides the comedy, is the whole layout of the story. Like I said, they dedicate a whole lot of the beginning of this movie to establishing the characters and their motives, and to random jokes that didn't end up working for me, and they also ripped off better Halloween movies. But it felt like they spent too much time establishing these characters that the plot ends up becoming so convoluted in the process that they almost feel pointless. From the way it's all set up, I thought that Steve Buscemi would have a much more prominent role in this movie, and he even gives some ominous warnings to Hubie about himself, which seemed like it would be going somewhere. But overall, though, he doesn't get a whole lot to do, and it feels like a big disappointment. And honestly, Steve Buscemi just feels like another case of wasted talent in an Adam Sandler movie. Even in the very, very beginning of the movie, before they introduce Steve Buscemi, they introduce this other random character who I thought would be playing as the main antagonist of the movie. But in the end, though, he didn't get a whole lot to do either, and that was much more disappointing than seeing Steve Buscemi do nothing. They also spend a whole lot of time talking about the supernatural and junk, but they even end up sliding that under the table as if it was almost nothing. I think I would have been completely fine if they took a silly approach with certain characters and ended up adding some supernatural elements to them. It definitely would have made this silly Adam Sandler film stand out among the rest of them, but you get what you get, I suppose. So as you can tell, Hubie Halloween is just another case of Adam Sandler and his bad comedic material, but it definitely isn't the worst out of his other films. As I've mentioned already, there were some moments where I actually felt sympathy for Hubie, and there were some moments that actually got a chuckle and even a big laugh out of me, but it wasn't too often. For the most part though, it still follows the same old tropes that we've all seen before in a Sandler film, and I can't necessarily say that it's his best work. Being a film centered around Halloween, it also tries to add in some horror elements to some parts that feel very out of place. If his earlier films and Uncut Gems proved anything, it's that Adam Sandler definitely has the talent to make some great films, but he never uses that to his full potential. But where it stands though, Hubie Halloween is just another one of those Adam Sandler films that's only going to be compared to the rest of them. So with all that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and give Hubie Halloween 4 out of 10 thermoses.
My name is Hubie Dubois, and I am here to tell you that Halloween is fun.
Yeah, I'd like to know who you guys think of Hubie Halloween. Love it? Hate it? I'm gonna watch it? Let me know in the comments below. Make this part of the video, I appreciate it. And leave a like on the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this review. Look forward to more very soon. Until next one, you guys, I'll see you later.